Hey there, fellow treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts. Imagine this: you're digging through an old jar of change that's been sitting on your kitchen counter for years. You're thinking, maybe there's enough in there for a cup of coffee or a cheap burger. But what if I told you that lurking in that humble pile of quarters could be a 1995 D Washington quarter worth a jaw-dropping $1.1 million? Yes, you heard me right, a single quarter. 25 cents. Worth more than a house, a fancy sports car, and a couple of those tropical vacations you've been dreaming about combined. So grab your magnifying glass, maybe a comfy chair, and let's take a deep dive into why the 1995 D Washington quarter is so rare, what makes it special, and how you might just find one hiding in your spare change. We're about to embark on a journey that could literally change your life, or at least your wallet, alright? Let's kick this off with a little background. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932. It was created to celebrate George Washington's 200th birthday. Over the decades, it's seen its share of design tweaks, composition changes, and all kinds of minting errors. And you know what that means: opportunities for collectors and ordinary folks like you and me to stumble onto coins worth small fortunes. So, why does the 1995 D Washington quarter stand out among the sea of quarters jingling in people's pockets? In 1995, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters. Nothing seemed particularly unusual about that year's run. But as it turns out, a small number of these coins were struck with unusual die characteristics and pristine finishes that made them spectacular specimens. Combine that with low survival rates of coins in perfect condition, and voila, the recipe for $1 million quarter. Most of these coins were spent immediately, rattling around in cash registers and vending machines. They were used to buy gas, snacks, or maybe even a pair of those neon socks that were all the rage in the 90s. Very few survived unscathed. Let's break down why this particular quarter can fetch over $1 million. The highest graded examples are called mint state coins. Think of them as the supermodels of the coin world, flawless, untouched, and ready for the spotlight. The top grades, MS68, MS69, are virtually perfect, with bright luster and zero where even a tiny scratch can knock thousands off the value. Some 1995 D quarters were struck with fresh, sharp dies that produced exceptional detail. You'll see crisp edges, clear letters, and the tiniest lines in George Washington's hair. Out of hundreds of millions minted, only a handful have been certified in the highest grade stuff. That's why collectors lose their minds when one comes up for auction. Coin collecting has exploded in popularity. Wealthy collectors will pay almost any price to complete their sets of flip the coin over. Just to the right of Washington's ponytail, you'll see a tiny D. That means it was minted in Denver. No nicks, no scratches, no fingerprints, strong, original luster like it was minted yesterday. Detailed strike crisp features in Washington's portrait, clear eagle feathers on the reverse. If you think you found a gem, send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. You might be wondering, come on, does anybody actually pay $1 million for a quarter? The answer is yes. One pristine MS68 1995 D sold at auction for over $1 million. Breaking all previous price records for modern Washington quarters. Private sales have reportedly topped that, as collectors quietly acquire these rare coins. When news of these sales hit the headlines, it inspired thousands of people to check their spare change. About 5 years ago, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. There were boxes of old tools, dusty photo albums, and my personal favorite, 3 big jars of coins. My uncle shrugged and said, "If you can haul them away, they're yours." Well, I hauled them away all right. I spent hours sitting on the living room floor, sorting through every single coin. I didn't find a 1995 D worth $1 million, but I did find a 1932 Washington quarter in surprisingly nice condition, worth a few $100. Not bad for a lazy afternoon. Ever since, I've been hooked on coin hunting. You never know what you'll discover. Banks often have customer-rolled coins that haven't been picked over by collectors. Ask for a few rolls of quarters and search them carefully. Estate sales and flea markets. Old collections can turn up in unexpected places. Always bring a magnifier and good lighting. Look through change. You'd be amazed at how often rare coins circulate unnoticed. Stay organized. Keep your finds in labeled coin flips or holders. Document where you found them. Never, ever clean your coin. It will destroy the value. Handling without gloves. Finger oils can leave permanent marks. Assuming all 1995 DS are worth millions, only the top graded coins bring big money. Most are worth face value. Collecting isn't just about money. It's about preserving history and enjoying the thrill of the hunt. Every coin has a story, from the mint that struck it to the pockets it passed through. When you hold an old quarter, you're holding a little piece of American life. Alright, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today. Why the 1995 D Washington quarter is so rare, what makes it worth over $1 million, how to identify one, my own near miss story, and tips to help you get started so the next time you're about to toss your spare change in the tip jar, take a second look. That plain old quarter could be your golden ticket. If you enjoyed this video and you want more tips on coins worth serious money, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn about hidden treasures in your pocket. And if you've got a coin story of your own, especially if you found something valuable, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Hey there, treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts. Have you ever rifled through a pile of old quarters and thought, man, if only one of these could pay off my mortgage? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into one of the most surprising little coins you might have jingling around in a dusty jar, the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter dollar without a mint mark. That's right, the bicentennial quarter that you thought was just pocket change could actually be worth up to $1.2 million. Stick around, because over the next hour, I'm going to break down exactly why this coin is so valuable, how you can spot one, what makes it rare, and how you might have a winning lottery ticket sitting in your junk drawer. Plus, I'm going to share a little story about how my neighbor nearly threw away a small fortune right in front of me. Alright, let's set the stage. The year was 1976. The United States was celebrating its 200th birthday. There were fireworks, parades, questionable fashion choices looking at you, bell bottoms, and the US Mint decided to commemorate the big event with special quarters. These bicentennial quarters had a unique reverse design. Instead of the usual bald eagle, they featured a colonial drummer with a torch of victory encircled by 13 stars. The obverse still showcased our first president, George Washington, but the date read 1776 to 1976. Most of these coins were mass-produced. Millions upon millions poured out of the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark at the time, as well as Denver and San Francisco. So, you might be thinking, how on earth can a coin with no mint mark, struck by the millions, be worth over $1 million? First, not all 1776 to 1976 quarters are created equal. A few of them were accidentally struck on 40% silver planchets intended only for collector's sets. These error coins slipped into circulation without anyone realizing. Think of it as a little production mishap that created the numismatic equivalent of a golden ticket. Second, condition is everything. A coin that's been rolling around in a sock drawer for 50 years won't command top dollar. But if you have one in near-perfect condition, what collectors call MS68 or higher, you're looking at serious money. Finally, provenance matters. If your coin has been authenticated and graded by one of the major certification services, like PCGS or NGC, and has a documented history, it skyrockets in value. Struck on a silver planchet, exceptional condition, certified by a reputable grading service. If all those boxes are checked, you might just be holding the $1 million quarters. Grab a magnifying glass. Seriously, get one, because you're going to want to look closely, as silver planchets are slightly heavier than standard clad planchets. A normal clad bicentennial quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. The silver error coins weigh closer to 5.75 grams. Not a huge difference, but enough that a precise scale can tell you. Also, look at the edge. The clad quarters show a copper stripe running around the edge. The silver quarters have a uniform, silvery edge. Tap it on a table. Silver coins have a distinctive, high-pitched ring. Clad coins give a duller sound. If your quarter passes these tests, don't go spending it at the vending machine. Get it evaluated by a professional grader immediately. At major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, rare bicentennial quarters have been known to shatter expectations. In pristine condition, with error characteristics, one of these coins recently sold for a little over $1 million. That sale lit the numismatic world on fire. Overnight, everyone started combing through their spare change. Most bicentennial quarters are still worth 25 cents. You have to look for that combination of a silver planchet error, flawless condition, and authenticated provenance. Let me share a quick story to illustrate how easy it is to overlook these coins. A couple of years ago, my neighbor Carol decided to declutter her house. She brought over an old coffee tin filled with coins and asked if I'd help her sort them. I started picking through handfuls of quarters when I spotted a 1776 to 1976 quarter with a bright, uniform edge and a crisp strike. I waited, tapped it on the kitchen counter, and nearly fainted at the clear, ringing tone. I said, "Carol, you might want to sit down." Long story short, after we sent it in for grading, it came back MS67 silver error. Not quite the $1 million jackpot, but she still pocketed over $85,000 from the auction. Weigh the coin on a precision gram scale, examine the edge for copper stripes, test the ring by tapping it gently on a table, avoid cleaning it, cleaning destroys value, get it certified by PCGS or NGC, consider consigning it to a reputable auction house. Remember, you want to keep the chain of custody intact so the buyer knows it's authentic. Beyond the monetary value, this little coin represents American history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery. Imagine holding a small piece of the bicentennial celebration, a symbol of 200 years of American independence, and knowing it could transform your finances overnight. It's like winning the lottery, only you didn't even have to buy a ticket. We've covered what makes the 1776 to 1976 no mint Mark Washington quarter dollar potentially worth over $1 million. You've learned how to identify silver planchet errors, the importance of condition, the role of certification, and how to avoid throwing away a fortune. So next time you clean out the couch cushions or dump out your piggy bank, take a closer look. Because that little coin you've ignored for decades might just be your ticket to a new house, early retirement, or the dream vacation to Italy. Before you go, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, or if you just love the idea of hidden treasure, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, I share fresh tips on coins worth serious money, strategies to build wealth from your collection, and stories that will inspire you to keep hunting. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're about to go rummaging through your change jar right now, where old coins turn into big bucks and your spare change might just pay for that beach house you've been dreaming about. Today, I'm going to blow your mind with the story of a little coin you probably have sitting in a jar somewhere. The 2000p Maryland quarter dollar coin. Yep, you heard that right. This unassuming 25-cent piece could be worth up to $1.3 million. That's enough to buy a Lamborghini, a vacation home, or at least a year's worth of fancy coffee to keep you awake while you rummage through your old change. Now, before you run to flip over every quarter you own, grab a comfy chair, maybe a cup of coffee, and stick with me. We're about to dive deep into what makes this coin such an incredible treasure, how you can spot one yourself, and why collectors are willing to part with life-changing sums of cash to own it. And don't worry, I'll share a personal story about the time I almost threw away a fortune without realizing it. Let's get started. Back in 1999, the United Statesmen launched the 50-state quarters program. The idea was simple: every state would get its own design on the back of a quarter, released in the order they joined the Union. Maryland's turn came in 2000. The coin proudly displays the dome of the Maryland State House, surrounded by white oak branches and the words, "The Old Line State." It looked nice, sure, but nobody suspected that years later, a small group of these coins, minted in Philadelphia, hence the little p under the word Liberty, would become the holy grail of state quarters. So how does a regular coin end up being worth over $1 million? Hold that thought, because that's what we're tackling next. Let's break this down in plain English. There are four main reasons this quarter commands insane prices. Some of these 2000p Maryland quarters were struck on the wrong planchet, or metal blank, making them thinner, off-color, or oddly weighted. Some coins have doubled letters or details. Collectors love these quirky mistakes. Coins graded as MS68 or MS69 are almost perfect, with sharp edges and mirror-like surfaces. Serious collectors and investors have driven up auction prices. That's why a near-perfect example fetched $1.3 million recently. A quarter that cost 25 cents to make selling for the price of a mansion. Let's talk about how you can tell if your 2000p Maryland quarter is the real deal. Check the mint mark. It must have a P under, "In God We Trust." Inspect for errors. Look closely for doubled letters, especially in Maryland, E pluribus unum, and the date. You might need a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Examine the edge and weight. Coins struck on the wrong planchet will often feel lighter or look thinner. Check the condition. Scratches, nicks, and wear can bring the value down dramatically. You want a coin that looks almost untouched. If you think you found one, don't clean it. Cleaning coins can destroy their value. Instead, have it authenticated and graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Let's talk about the big sale that made headlines. In early 2024, a collector from Pennsylvania discovered a 2000p Maryland quarter in an inherited coin collection. It had a rare double die error and was graded MS68. After intense bidding at a major auction house, it sold for a jaw-dropping $1.30 million. Just imagine finding that in your change bowl. That's the stuff dreams are made of. And now, let me share a little story that still makes me sweat when I think about it. A few years back, I was helping my grandmother clean out her attic. We stumbled on an old cigar box filled with state quarters. I was in a hurry, so I almost dumped the whole lot into a Coinstar machine at the grocery store. But something told me to hang on to it. Fast forward to last year, I decided to take another look. I found a 2000p Maryland quarter that looked a little unusual, the letters seemed slightly doubled. I sent it in for grading. Turned out it wasn't worth $1 million, but it's still appraised at over $7,500. If I chucked it into the Coinstar, it would have spit it out as 25 cents. Always double check your change. You never know what treasures are lurking in old jars. Let's say you strike gold and find a valuable Maryland quarter. Never sell a coin without having it professionally graded. Work with reputable auction houses or certified coin dealers. Not every coin is worth $1 million, but many are worth hundreds or thousands. Sometimes the market takes time to heat up. Don't rush into a deal out of excitement. This isn't just about one rare quarter. It's about paying attention to the small stuff. Whether you're collecting as a hobby or trying to build wealth, coins are a tangible reminder that ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. Your spare change could literally be your ticket to financial freedom. Or at least an epic vacation. Alright friends, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the history of the 2000p Maryland quarter to what makes it worth $1.3 million, to my own near miss with a fortune in spare change. Knowledge is power. The more you learn about coins, the better your chances of spotting the big winners. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on coin collecting, rare finds, and smart strategies to turn your hobby into a profitable adventure, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and hey, don't just subscribe. Tap the bell icon too, so you never miss an update. I've got plenty more videos lined up about other coins that could be sitting in your pocket worth a fortune. Imagine this: you're doing laundry, cursing at that sock that vanished into the void, and then you spot a dull little quarter sitting on the dryer. You're about to chuck it into your spare change jar, but hold on. That humble 1968 Washington quarter could be worth $1.4 million. Yeah, you heard that right. $1.4 million for a 25-cent coin. In today's video, we're going to break down exactly why this coin is so valuable, how you can identify one, and why you need to start paying closer attention to the quarters in your pocket. Stick around because I'm also going to share a personal story about how I almost spent a valuable coin on a gas station hot dog. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, or maybe something stronger, and let's dive into the fascinating world of the 1968 no mint mark Washington quarter. Let's start with a little backstory. 1968 was quite a year in American history. The Vietnam War was raging, Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy were tragically assassinated, and Apollo 8 circled the moon. While all this was happening, the U.S. Mint was churning out coins at a furious pace. The Washington quarter had already been around since 1932, minted in honor of George Washington's 200th birthday. Originally made of 90% silver, the composition switched in 1965 to copper-nickel due to rising silver prices. So by 1968, your quarters weren't silver anymore, but they were still sturdy little workhorses of commerce. Now, here's the twist. In 1968, most quarters were struck with mint marks, little letters under the eagle on the back of the coin, indicating which mint produced it. A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and no mint mark at all usually meant it was minted in Philadelphia. But the 1968 no mint mark quarter isn't just any Philly coin. Some experts believe a small number of quarters were struck with dies meant for proof coins, the special shiny ones you see in collector sets, and somehow slipped into circulation. That's one theory about why these particular quarters are so rare and valuable. Let's get to the good stuff. Why would anyone pay over $1 million for a coin you could find in your couch cushions? It comes down to rarity, condition, and a little bit of collector frenzy. First, rarity. While hundreds of millions of quarters were minted in 1968, only a tiny fraction lack a mint mark in the specific configuration collectors crave. Second, condition. If your coin looks like it survived a bar fight, scratched up, dinged, and faded, it's probably worth about 25 cents. But if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition, or has proof-like qualities, you're talking serious cash. Third, provenance. Coins with a known history and previous auction records often command higher prices. The $1.4 million price tag was achieved at a high-profile auction where serious collectors duked it out for bragging rights. So if you're wondering, will my 1968 quarter automatically make me a millionaire? Not necessarily. But if you find one in flawless condition, authenticated by a reputable grading service, you could be in for a life-changing payday. Okay, so now you're probably itching to rummage through your junk drawer. Let's make sure you know exactly what to look for. Look at the reverse side, with the eagle. Under the wreath, where you'd usually see a D or an S, there should be absolutely nothing. If it's shiny, crisp, and detailed, that's a good sign. Mirror-like background, frosted images. If you think you've struck gold, send it to a top grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm authenticity and assign a grade. Don't let that step intimidate you. Grading companies have clear instructions on their websites. Let me tell you about the time I almost spent a valuable coin on a hot dog. A few years ago, I was driving cross-country and stopped at a gas station somewhere in Kansas. I was starving and too tired to care that the hot dogs had probably been rolling under the heat lamp since the Nixon administration. A pile of quarters from my car's cup holder. As I'm leaving, the clerk calls me back and says, "Hey, one of these quarters looks weird." I'm thinking, yeah, so do your hot dogs, but I go back. Sure enough, there was a 1968 no mint mark quarter, shiny as a new Cadillac. I didn't know at the time how rare it was. I took it back and tossed it in my glove box. Months later, when I finally looked it up, I nearly choked on my coffee. That little coin could have paid for a brand new truck, not just a gas station snack. Go to your bank and ask for rolls of quarters. People unknowingly deposit valuable coins all the time. Older folks often have coin jars with hidden treasures. You'd be surprised what turns up. Check that jar on your dresser. Grandma might have a collection she forgot about. Coin collecting is like treasure hunting. You never know when you'll hit the jackpot. Avoid fly-by-night operations. Heritage Auctions and Stacksbowers regularly handle high-value coins. A $1.4 million coin deserves careful handling. Who knew a little 1968 Washington quarter with no mint mark could be worth more than a beach house? Next time you're sorting your spare change, remember, history, rarity, and condition can turn pocket change into serious money. I hope this video inspires you to check your quarters, look closer, and maybe even start a new hobby. And if you ever find a 1968 no mint mark Washington quarter in your laundry, don't spend it on a questionable gas station hot dog. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare coins, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another tip on coins worth money, collecting strategies, and stories from the world of hidden treasures. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a valuable coin or want to share your own near-miss stories. I love reading them, and who knows, your experience might inspire someone else to check their change. That digs up hidden treasures right from your pocket change. Today, I'm about to share something that might just flip your entire idea of spare quarters upside down. Imagine you're rooting around in your old change jar, maybe looking for laundry money, and you pull out a dusty 1979 D Washington quarter. You squint at it, think, 25 cents, and toss it back. What if I told you that very same coin could be worth $1 million right now? That's right, $1 million for a quarter minted in Denver in 1979. Stick around, because over the next 50 minutes, we're going deep, like Indiana Jones deep, into what makes this coin such a prize. We'll talk history, features, grading, real auction results, and the biggest mistakes people make when they decide to cash out, and I'll even share my own story about the time I almost spent a valuable quarter on a pack of gum. Spoiler alert, I still cringe about it. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's uncover the $1 million secrets of the 1979 D Washington quarter. Let's start with a little background. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932, honoring George Washington's 200th birthday. Fast forward to 1979. Bell-bottoms were still clinging on for dear life, disco was gasping its last breath, and the Denver Mint was stamping out quarters like nobody's business. In 1979 alone, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters. You'd think that would make them all worthless, right? Hidden among those regular coins are a tiny number of high-grade, mint condition examples that collectors will pay astronomical sums for. What sets them apart isn't just age. It's condition, strike quality, and tiny details that most people never notice. Alright, let's break down what makes this coin worth up to $1 million. First, you've got the D Mint mark, which you'll find on the front of the coin, right next to the ribbon on Washington's ponytail. A pristine condition, MS68 or better. MS stands for mint state. If your coin looks like it was minted yesterday, no scratches, no dings, perfect luster, you're in the ballpark. This means every hair on George's head is sharp and clear, and the eagle's feathers on the back are crisp. Even the tiniest signs of wear can drop the value from six figures to $6. The exceptional eye appeal: if it gleams like a freshly waxed Corvette, collectors will salivate over it. In short, it has to be the Beyoncé of quarters. Well, over the past decade, collectors and investors have been shelling out serious money for the finest known examples. A 1979 D Washington quarter graded MS-68 sold at auction for just under $1 million after a fierce bidding war. Imagine finding one of these in your change jar. Your heart would probably need a defibrillator. Let's talk about what you should look for first. Grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. You don't want to miss anything. Look for any scratches, nicks, or wear. If everything looks perfect, you're onto something big. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was cleaning out an old jar of coins that my grandfather kept. I found a 1979 D quarter that looked brand new. My first thought was, hey, I can grab a soda with this. I actually took it to the gas station, bought a drink, and got changed. A week later, I started learning about rare quarters, and realized the one I spent was likely MS-67, potentially worth thousands of dollars. To this day, every time I buy something with change, I think about that soda and feel like I owe my grandfather an apology. So don't make my mistake. Check before you spend. If you think you've struck gold, the next step is professional grading. They'll carefully examine your coin under magnification, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it in a protective holder. Never clean your coin before sending it in. Cleaning destroys the surface and kills the value faster than you can say oops. One of the biggest numismatic auction houses in the world. Another powerhouse in rare coin auctions. If you're comfortable handling the sale yourself. Sometimes the highest prices come from private deals. Always get multiple appraisals and never rush. When your coin is worth more than most people's homes, you want to move carefully. One of the most fascinating things about this hobby is the passion. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, prestige, and bragging rights. That's why a pristine quarter can be worth $1 million, because it's the best example of its kind. It's like owning a rare vintage car or an original Picasso. Store it in a climate-controlled environment, keep it in a safe or safety deposit box, handle it by the edges, never touch the surfaces. Insure it, especially if it's worth six figures or more. Finding valuable coins isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery and preserving a little piece of history. Alright, my fellow treasure hunters, now you know why the 1979 D Washington quarter is one of the most exciting coins out there. It could be the key to financial freedom, the down payment on your dream house, or the start of a whole new collecting adventure. If you've got a jar of old coins, get in there and start looking. Because you never know, your $1 million quarter might be waiting for you. Before you go, do me one favor: hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our deep dives into coins worth big money. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and drop a comment below telling me about the coolest coin you've ever found. Hey folks, gather round, grab your coffee or your favorite snack, and buckle in. Because today, we're diving into a little piece of metal that could turn your couch change into a literal fortune. I'm talking about the unassuming, everyday, blink and you miss it 1981 P Washington quarter dollar. This little guy, if it has the right details, could fetch up to $1.5 million in today's wild coin collector market. Yep, that's not a typo. $1.25 short of a soda, yet worth more than most people's houses. So if you've got a coin jar collecting dust somewhere, you better check it right now. Because buried in there could be the retirement plan you never knew you had. We're going to break it all down today: what makes this quarter so valuable, what to look for, how to sell it, and even some of the hilarious mistakes people make when they think they've struck gold. Plus, I'll throw in a personal story about the one time I almost accidentally spent a valuable coin at a gas station. Yeah, that happened. So let's kick this off with a deep dive into how a 25-cent coin ended up worth more than a Lamborghini. Let's rewind the clock back to 1981. Ronald Reagan was in office, MTV had just launched, and quarters? Well, they were still made the old-school way. No flashy state designs, no color, just a good old George Washington on the front and an eagle on the back. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 600 million of these babies in 1981. So why in the world is one worth $1.50 million? Some of these quarters weren't just ordinary circulation coins. A small batch had minting errors so rare, collectors lose their minds over them. We're talking double dies, off-center strikes, missing layers, or even the wrong metal composition altogether, and the Philadelphia Mint didn't use a mint mark in 1981, which only adds to the mystery. If you spot one that looks different, I mean really different, you might be sitting on a goldmine. This is where George Washington's features, his nose, mouth, or even the lettering like "In God We Trust," appear slightly doubled. Not like he had a few too many and got blurry, but a real misprint. That tiny minting mistake can make a quarter worth thousands, and in rare cases, millions. If the quarter design is noticeably shifted, like the eagle is flying off the side or George looks like he's sliding off the coin, that's a major red flag for collectors. Every coin has a blank or planchet it's struck on. If a quarter ends up on the wrong one, say a nickels or even a foreign coins, it's incredibly rare. That's where the big bucks start showing up. If the quarter looks coppery or dull, like it's missing its shiny outer layer, that's a missing clad layer error. Combine that with a strong strike and clean error, and boom, 6 to 7 figures easy. And if you're lucky enough to have a combination of these errors, you're no longer just lucky. You're basically a coin superhero. Demand and scarcity. Coin collecting is no longer a quiet little hobby your uncle did in the basement. It's a global, billion-dollar market with investors, collectors, and straight-up treasure hunters. In recent years, the market for rare coins has exploded. People want assets they can hold, tangible wealth. And when there's only a handful of specific error coins out there, the price skyrockets. The 1981 P. Washington quarter made headlines when a pristine error specimen was auctioned off in a private collector's circle for $1.5 million. That sparked a chain reaction. Suddenly, everyone started checking their pockets, their drawers, their laundry machines. Collectors are still on the hunt. So if you've got one, even in semi-good shape, you could be looking at serious money, okay? Real talk. A couple of years ago, I was at a dusty little gas station in Texas, grabbing a soda and a beef jerky stick. Reached into my glove box for change. I always kept coins there, and found this weird quarter. It looked different. Copper tone, a little off-center, and the words looked fuzzy, but I shrugged and tossed it into the cashier's hand. Thank God he was an older guy with an eye for coins. He literally slapped the counter and said, "Are you sure you want to give this up?" We both looked it up. Turns out it was a valuable error coin. Not the $1.5 million one, but still worth over $12,000. I traded it for a tank of gas and a soda. Ever since then, I double-check every quarter I get. And you should too. Get a decent coin magnifier. You're looking for those signs we talked about: doubled letters, off-center designs, missing layers. Don't eyeball it. Get close. Check sites like PCGS, NGC, and Heritage Auctions. They have photos of verified rare coins. Match yours and see how close you get. This is crucial. Send your coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. If it's authentic and graded well, the value shoots up exponentially. Don't just sell it to your neighbor who says he collects coins. Go to an auction house, a coin dealer, or list it with a certified seller. Protect yourself until it's graded and sold. Store the coin in a protective sleeve or holder. No rough handling. You don't want $1 million coin getting scratched by a set of car keys. 1981's proof quarters with cameo contrast errors, 1981D with off-center strikes, 1981 nickels and dimes with incorrect planchets or double dies. You might be sitting on an entire error collection and not even know it. Alright, my fellow treasure hunters. That's the scoop on the 1981 P. Washington quarter that's making millionaires out of folks like you and me. It's not just about luck. It's about being aware. Being that guy or gal who checks their change, flips over their coins, and knows what to look for. And hey, even if you don't find the $1 million one, you might still uncover a $500 or $10,000 coin. That's still a pretty great day, right? Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this: coins are more than just currency. They're history, they're art, and sometimes, they're a life-changing lottery ticket in your pocket. If you found this video helpful, funny, or just plain interesting, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more videos coming your way about rare coins, market tips, and how to spot value where most people see spare change. Also, drop a comment below. Tell me your weirdest coin story. Did you find one in a parking lot? Did your grandma hand you a treasure without realizing it? I want to hear it.